Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to do a quick overview of the PyCharm Community Edition IDE, and this is going to be version 2021.1. If your version of PyCharm Community is different, there may be some differences with what you see here, but generally it should be very similar. The other thing I want to mention is that this video is being recorded on a Mac OS Big Sur version 11.2. So the first thing to point out is that when PyCharm is installed, it creates a default folder for us. In this case, PyCharm projects, and it's in my users folder. You can find in Finder, or if you're using this in Windows or Linux, it'd be in the file system in a similar place in your users folders. PyCharm is cross-platform, so if you're using a Linux machine or Windows, Macintosh, the interface is essentially the same. When you first open PyCharm, you get the projects interface where you can create a new project or open an existing one. You can also connect to source code control systems such as GitHub. There's several settings and customizations you can make here, but we'll start out with a new project to get us started. So the new project dialog gives us several settings that we can create at the beginning of our project to help set it up for our work. The first thing is, you'll notice at the top here, I have that location, the PyCharm projects folder. I can call this whatever I want. This will be the folder name that gets created in my file system. There's several other things to pay attention to here as well. In addition to the location, Python has a feature called virtual environments. I'm going to take the default in this case, but we'll take a look at virtual environments in a later video in more depth. The other thing to pay attention to here is that the base interpreter, I have Python 3.9 installed on this particular computer. If you have other versions available, you can find them by dropping this down. If you're creating a new project, you likely want to use the latest version of Python. If you're working on a project that was developed maybe some time ago and it's in a different version, you may need to stay in that version or possibly upgrade it. Several other things here that I'll leave alone. I'm going to uncheck this create a main Py welcome script. I just want to create an empty project to start with. So I'll click create, and it takes a few moments. And the first thing I get is some tips. I can have that available to me. It's useful when you're first starting out with PyCharm. Kind of gives you some ideas about how to interact with the IDE. So you notice that I have a demo project now. On the left-hand side, this is my File Explorer interface for my project. If I go back to Finder, I can now open my PyCharm project, and you see that I have that demo project. Okay. As I create files and I work with things in this project, obviously I can go back to that place and find any of those files that I might create. So the next thing I want to do is just get familiar with the interface itself. As I said, on the left-hand side, I have the File Explorer. I can look in any of these folders as I need to. I have not actually created anything. Everything that you see here was generated by the process of creating a new project. So I basically am encapsulating my projects so that anything related to it is kept together under this demo folder. Across the bottom, I have several tabs that I can open different things, such as the Python console or a terminal. As I create a file and walk through the process of just writing a simple Python program and running it, you'll see some interaction with that as well. So I can use the file menu, obviously, to create a file, or I can right-click on my project, and under New, I want a new Python file. Click that, and I'll name it something. And now in the right-hand pane, I have an editing space where I can start writing code. When I want to run this, the very first time that you start a new script, you can just simply right-click and click Run right there. And as I said, there's these tabs across the bottom. Your output in a terminal window opens, and there's the output of my program. As you further work with this, you may need to send this script file to someone or make a copy of it, maybe make a backup of it. Keep in mind that anytime that you want to do any of those things, if you're not using source control, for example, you can always go back to your Finder or your File Explorer, and there's my Python file that I just created. So I could, upload that or send it to someone or whatever I might need to do. The nice thing about this is that I can always see anything in my project right here directly in PyCharm, or I can always go back to the File Explorer of the computer and locate things there as well. You also notice that I didn't have to save this. In fact, if you look, there's not a save option even available. PyCharm has an autosave feature. I can save this as another file name if I'd like, but it conveniently saves for us as we're working. I can always close this file and also close the project, which returns us back to the original open screen of PyCharm. There's my demo project that I created. I can always go back to it, or I can create a new project, etc. The last thing I wanted to point out here is that in this interface, there's a Learn PyCharm tab. If you're new to PyCharm, JetBrains provides a really good learning environment for learning the IDE. If I click Start Learning, it actually creates a project directly in the editor and has many pages of content to help you learn how to work with PyCharm, which gives you instructions on editor basics and code completion, etc. Any of these you can open up and work with directly in the IDE, which is really beneficial. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know, and thanks for listening.